commission. Kenya has one. Are they any better, or is it playing any significant role in terms of developing the industry? That aside, you may recall that recently, I think in the course of last year, government was rationalizing institutions, establishment of institutions, and even merging some, what we call RAPEX. Under RAPEX, some institutions were merged, others were abolished. Now, as we talk now, there is a complete ban on establishing new institutions. We are supposed to operate within the existing institutions with the mandates to serve the purpose for which we want to create institutions. So that is the current policy of government. But the bottom line is to ask ourselves, for where we have developed film industries, is it a result of the commissions, or it is a different factor that has promoted the faster growth of the industry? So there's a need for us to ask those questions so that we are able to come up with a clear answer. Not to say that I am opposed to establishing a commission, but as of now, as government of Uganda, we would need a lot of talking and justifying why we need a film commission or an institution to manage the film industry in the form of a separate institution apart from those that are existing.
Thank you, Mr. Bakaye. I'm sure it's a discussion that the audience would be happy to engage further, but I will allow them to do so at the right time. Allow me move to your immediate neighbor, Mr. Francis Nyende from Uganda Tourism Board. And how can tourism campaigns integrate film content instead of treating film and tourism as separate sectors? Why aren't Ugandan films being systematically used to market destinations internationally? And can UTB co-invest in film production as marketing products?
Thanks, Matthew. Morning once again. I don't know if I was introduced, but my name is Francis Nyende from the Tourism Board. Matthew, I think that's a very interesting question, and I think very, very timely. I'll tell you for sure, one of our pillars, our most strategic pillar, is to make sure we sell the Ugandan story through, or the Ugandan brand, Explore Uganda, through emotional storytelling. And I can't think of a better way than doing that through film. And I know even when we were talking yesterday, it kept on getting grounded in my mind that film is literally the best destination marketing brochure. I mean, if you look at destinations that, seem to be thriving, I don't think you've seen a Visit America advert, have you? It's probably through the film industry that has made us believe in the beauty that, such destinations have to offer. So I think there's a very, very strategic role film can play in destination marketing. And before I even dive into maybe why we're not working yet together closely, I mean, I'll give very vivid examples. What comes to mind when you think about The Lion King? Which destination comes to mind?
Kenya.
Kenya. So the movie has already done the job for Kenya. And I could go on and on and on. We've seen amazing pieces coming from South Africa, and you literally are sold. But that said, I think destination marketing and film have also been treated separately, and maybe it's not just a Ugandan problem. It's a problem that probably exists globally. You hardly see film and destinations working together from the onset. there are countries which have gotten that right. I think Australia has done that well. With is it Lord of the Rings? I don't know, something like that. And I think the UK is doing well with Bridgerton. But if we're not intentional, definitely, then we're definitely not going to have those two working together. Specifically for us as UTB, and you probably know a lot of our core markets, are the more developed ones. We always look out for reach, which is something that we haven't yet landed, I think, with our local content. And my co-panelist here, I think, talked about it, the distribution, not just locally, but also internationally. We need to make sure we get there. But it's a journey we can, work on together. But more than ever, I think we see the real value. Film does better storytelling than a traditional advert. I mean, I could pay for 30-second ads all year round, but one good film could literally change, the story of a destination. So those are areas I think we will be slowly getting into, and working together with you as a film guild to make sure we sell the Ugandan story. You remind me of other pieces of the question, so
I think you've pretty much touched all of it. Yeah, in case of anything else.
There was something on co-investing and...
Yes, investing in our local films as a marketing tool.
So I think right now we might need, a form of a framework to guide us. I think what we've been missing most is that strategic partnership. I mean, we are still working in silos. Destination marketing and film, we're definitely in silos. But I think seeing what film has done for some destinations, I think it's important for us to have some form of a framework. And for UTB, it may not exactly come out as co-funding or co-investment. My co-panelists talked about incentives, and there are many incentives we can extend to the film industry. We happen to have access to all the unique backdrops that you could have in your film industry, across Uganda. So those are ways maybe we can come in and make sure we enable, the film industry. There can also be a lot of incentives for, people want to come in, people you're probably working with to shoot maybe global class content. But we should be guided by maybe what kind of content we should have in there. I mean, if it's to shoot film and it's for the benefit of a destination, we want to be sure you're also putting our best foot forward. So there are many ways we can come into that, but I believe, with our partners like the UCC, we can strike very good frameworks that could definitely incentivize, film production. Because I know it is very costly. I don't know, you can probably name out some of the costs of producing a film, but we can be enablers to either strike them off or make sure you have very decent landing through maybe our government agencies and partners. But besides that, we can also actively co-invest from...
There's a state called Osun State. Inside Osun, there's a place called Ile-Ife, where the Ooni of Ife comes from. There are festivals that we celebrate for 365 days. Just one day in a year is the holiday. And so if you are to tell those stories through film, for 365 days, you are telling unique stories without repeating one. And you've not talked about the entire Southwest, you've not talked about the entire country. So Nigeria, in terms of filmmaking, will be deliberate from the outset. And that deliberate move started from the private sector. The private sector believing that we have a lot of stories to tell. They started telling the stories, and storytelling basically started from the stage in Nigeria. the likes of the late Hubert Ogunde, the doyen of theater in Nigeria. So from the stage, they moved to a bit to cinema, then they started filmmaking. There used to be a time where Nigeria, were producing, loads of films and everybody was just watching. So we believed then in quantity than quality. So the quantity actually sold us out first. People were watching, and it got to a point that we now said, we have so many films, but we're not meeting up with standard. Then we now moved from quantity to quality. So, but before we got to quality, we had already sold ourselves out with the quantity. Now we now got to quality. And with the quality, we've now started telling stories of not just day-to-day activities. We've now started telling stories that are deep-rooted in our culture, in our tradition, and that's what we are, trying to push out to do. So for me, I think one lesson that Uganda can learn from Nigeria in terms of filmmaking is the first thing is there has to be a deliberate effort of collaboration between the government and the private sector. The private sector, has a role to play, and the government also has a role to play in terms of providing enabling environment, incentives, and all of that to encourage filmmakers. For us in Nigeria, when the private sector, when they produce these movies, we have some, commissions or authorities that, ensure that these movies meet up standard and they are well rated. For instance, we have the National Film and Video Censors Board in Nigeria that regulates the quality of films and make sure that they are, okay for viewers. And we also have the Nigerian Film Corporation that is headed by a practitioner now, Ali Nuhu. And what that does is to also see how we work on capacity building. Because it's one thing to have a story. It's another thing to be able to tell that story with, in a very captivating way, with good suspense, with plot, characterization, and all of that. So under the Nigerian Film Corporation, we have the Nigerian Film Academy. So it's that corporation that trains people on, they have, an institute where they train screenwriters, where they train actors. So for the screenwriters that we have in Nigeria that are doing very well now, most of them are products of the Film Academy, that is being driven by the government. So by the time they do that, they go back to the private sector and they collaborate and they produce those films. But for us, we are doing more. We are now more deliberate to tell these stories. You could see when Netflix came into Nigeria, there are Netflix original stories. So when they saw that Nigeria has a lot to give, so they started sponsoring some of those films. That's where you'll have the likes of Lishabi, the likes of Jagun Jagun, and all of that being produced with, huge amounts, because filmmaking is capital, intensive. If you want to do good movies, it's not that we don't still have the quality, the quantity, but the quantity with the digital world now, when you're producing your film, if you're producing a film with, let's say, for instance, maybe 20 million, 30 million, 100 million, you know that from the outset, when I produce this film, I'm putting it on YouTube. So you already decided where you want to put your film. If I'm producing this film, I'm taking it to the cinema. You've already decided from the outset that you know that you're going to spend more. If I'm producing this film, I'm putting it on Netflix. You've already decided, or any streaming platform. So like I said, number one, we need to work on capacity building, build, capacity more. Number two, be deliberate about the narrative you want to push out through the film, your films. What narrative are you pushing? For us in Nigeria, I think we are shifting more now to pushing out narratives in the cultural sector, tourism, destination tourism, because that's the way to go. For me, since I came in, there is a project we're working on, a tourism dedicated streaming platform, which is the initiative of the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority. And what we want to do is we want to start producing movies that will move traffic to destinations. Movies that will move traffic not just to destinations but to Nigeria. So by producing this movie, when you watch it, you have an opportunity. They will ask you, do you want to visit the location? Then when you click on that, then you will be redirected to a tour operator who will now package your tour. So it starts from the movie, that you move and you get to that destination, and before you know it, Nigeria will be known. Before you know it, Africa will be known. So we need to work more on this, be deliberate about the films that we push out. Public-private partnership is key. The government needs to work closely with the private sector. And with that, I think beyond the sky is the limit. And I'm happy for the conversation we had yesterday. I was discussing with you yesterday that with the deliberate efforts that the government is putting into filmmaking in Uganda to drive tourism, I think in not too distant a future, we'll start seeing Uganda, at the top, moving to that top in terms of film production and in terms of tourism development in the country. So let me say in advance, congratulations to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ola. You mentioned about the need for government to work together with the film industry. How has that worked and contributed to the growth of tourism in Nigeria? And what practical strategies would you share with us as Ugandans to put in effect?
Okay, so collaboration is the way to go, like I said. I mentioned two agencies of the federal government. Actually, we have a Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. So anything that has to do with creativity, filmmaking, falls under that ministry, the tourism, and that is just from the good initiative of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, through the Minister, Barrister Natu Musa Musawa. Initially, we used to have Ministry of Information and National Orientation. So when he came on board, he splitted it and he said there's need for us to focus on the creative industry. So the collaboration is in this form. The person that is heading, for instance, the National Film and Video Censors Board is a practitioner himself. The person that is heading the Film Corporation is a practitioner himself. So these are practitioners who understand the art of filmmaking. These are practitioners who know the other people that are thriving in the industry. So they are friends. So they know where the shoe pinches. So now that they are there, what they do is they call their friends, they sit down. From the point of conceptualization of the project, they sit down. What do we want to do? Okay, we want to tell a story about this particular destination. Okay, we have people that have come out of this institute of the government. Now, with that institute, they sit down. They have products that are screenwriters. They write the story. After writing the story, there are people that you can approach, for funding to get that story done. By the time you do that, you have empowered more people in the private sector. You've also allowed the government to be a part of it. And so by creating the film, you have the Film and Video Censors Board that will also go there, that will censor it. And because they are practitioners, they know the right way to distribute these movies. There are cinemas everywhere. And like I said, the private sector is doing a lot on their own. The only thing that the government does is to ensure that they regulate it. And when the government sees that the private sector, they are doing well, and the image of the country is being, pushed out in the right light, now the government is now showing interest in being a part of it. Like for me, like I said, that I'm a practitioner myself, and I'm now heading an agency of the federal government. So what I am doing by creating that tourism-dedicated streaming platform is to give opportunity to my friends who are also actors now, who do that full-time. We started together. And so it's a more opportunity for them to produce more films. And when they're producing these more films, powered by my office, in collaboration with other private sector, and we get these films out. So it's just to sit down, like I said. If there's no, no policy in place, there's no structure in place, it's just to sit down, have that conversation. But the most important thing that I'm happy about it is here, and you are here. So this conversation should go beyond just sitting down here and talking. It should go to the level of action. So after this time out, there should be probably a communique out of this. Then you sit down, you look at it. You are the practitioner in the private sector. What are the things that are needed? You put it into, a strategy work. You give it to him. He looks at it. What is possible from the angle of the government? Then they sit down. We have the tourism. We have the ministry. You have the private sector. So it's a complete deal. And the government is really interested in pushing it. And once that is done and it becomes a policy of the government, I think it's just a way to go. But it's just to be deliberate about the narrative that you want to push through film to drive tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Ola. What I've picked from that is what maybe you're doing better is the people in government in these offices are practitioners.
Yes, they are.
Which might not be the same case here. But again, I think what I've picked is the people in these offices need to sit with the practitioners and then have a strategic direction towards that.
You're right.
Thank you. Allow me go to your immediate neighbor, Ms. Nikisi from the International Trade Center. You know that one of the challenges that our industry faces is financing, because film is very expensive to make. Now, you as a development partner from the International Trade Center, what financing models can unlock large-scale productions in Uganda, and how can Uganda position itself for international co-productions? Plus, what role should you as a development partner play? Should it be grants, should it be guarantees, or equity investment? Please advise.
For sure. No, thank you, Matthew. Thank you for the question. And I also really appreciate the level of rigor and accountability in the questions as well. I think it's good for this level of self-reflection. Just for additional context, the International Trade Center is a World Bank and UN agency headed in Geneva. And as the name says, we're focused on trade and market access. And so as an organization, I'll say that right now, we're working on programming and also coordination tools like a roadmap to be able to support the creative industries. In direct response to your question, I think it is really important for spaces or for institutions like the ITC not to crowd out local organizations and to focus on initiatives actually being capacity building oriented. This is one of the key things that has been spoken about here and also that we can offer to the wider creative industries. One of the ways we're doing that now, for example, is working on a market access platform with a local Ugandan partner so that this is actually phased out and handed over to them by the end of our time working with them over a fixed period of time. So to me, this is quite a good example of how international development partners can not just dish out resources, but actually work towards a shared vision with local stakeholders and institutions. And that kind of collaboration can also only happen with the kind of consultative efforts that were also referenced earlier. In terms of financing models, I think where institutions like International Trade Center are again best placed is to operate with practitioners who are maybe piloting new ideas, experimenting with things, so that we're able to create kind of a de-risking environment, right, for certain stakeholders, practitioners, people who are trying to build new things. So being able to offer grants at that level, and then once a model is defined and refined, then the financial institutions within the country can say, okay, you know what, this works. We can actually follow through with this. Let's see how we can scale it.
Thank you very much. Allow me move to your immediate neighbor, the Vice President of the National Producers Guild, Ms. Nana Kaga. Nana Kaga, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I would like you to advise, because as the National Producers Guild, I know you have a mandate to do so many things from telling quality local stories, to capacity building, etc., etc. What kind of investments are needed to make Uganda film ready? Is it setting up of studios, regional film hubs? Is it equipment? Is it post-production facilities? And can Uganda build regional excellence hubs for film training? What is that like? What would it take?
Thank you, Matthew. Good morning, everyone. Interesting question, because I believe the Ugandan film industry is steadily moving on. And when you think about where we were 5 years ago, it's actually unimaginable that we're sitting here having this discourse about how to better elevate it. You're asking me what's required for Uganda to actually compete on a global scale. I would say we're already there. It's just that some of these products that we're putting out there are on platforms that the ordinary Ugandan cannot access. We've got films on Netflix, we've got films on Amazon. So the thing is, again, those are cherry-picked individuals that have had that opportunity. When we think about the entirety of the film industry, we do need regional hubs, because a lot of the opportunities that are in the film sector are centralized here in Kampala. So we've got our counterparts in the north, in the west, in the east that can't compete with some of us because they don't have access to the skills, to the facilities, to the Nikisis, to be able to bring the Ugandan film standards up to par across every region. So yes, we do need, first thing we do need is skilling before we do anything else. A lot of filmmakers in this room are self-taught, unless I'm misinformed. So a lot of us operate on standard operating procedures that are individually put in place, not across the board. We're not professionalized. So I think the first thing we need to do while we come up with policies is professionalize our industry. Know that the film industry is a business and we are selling a product. A lot of us sitting in this room are passion-driven, for want of a better word. So we need everything, but personally, from my perspective as the Vice President, I think first things first, we need to go back to the basics, professionalize the industry at large across the country, build regional hubs whereby people can be skilled, supply equipment which can be rented across the board at standard rates so that every single person is just not renting out as per what they want. Get government involved in basically policies and co-production treaties and film, you know, there's a lot to be done. So when you ask that question, we could be here the whole day having this discourse, but I feel like that question actually does require audience participation. I can't cover everything for you. And Diallo, I see you laughing because as as a writer, you would probably stand up and just ask for the world. But I think personally we're making strides, even sitting here with gender. You see? With gender and also tourism, we're sitting here and they're giving us an audience. So personally for me, even when I come off this stage and these gentlemen come off this stage, it is your mandate to talk to them about what is required for you guys to succeed and contribute the way they want us to contribute. But I think as the PGU, it's a start. We are organizing ourselves, we've structured ourselves, you're sitting here. I can't continue, I can't say enough. So I will stop there. Matthew, is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nana, for that. And yes, the audience, please put down your questions. Herman, maybe you'll help me, maybe so we can get the audience questions written down somewhere. Allow me move to your immediate neighbor, Director Basil Aja from the Ministry of Tourism. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to have you here.
Sorry I came late.
You are delayed. It's all good. Uganda has incredible landscapes and stories, but we haven't fully leveraged film as a tourism driver like other countries have done. The question is, can film be embedded in the national tourism strategy? Is that something you've given thought? Can you shed some light on that?
Thank you, Matthew. Let me start from where Nana stopped. I met a team, I met the leadership of the National Producers Guild. I think early this year, was it early this year? And I met a team that was fairly disappointed. I could use the word disgruntled with government because government doesn't listen to them. They have gone to different government offices and attention is not being given. So the fact that we are seated together here, I see gender, I see UTB, I think that's a success. It's a good thing. We are listening to each other. We are talking. Now back to the question. Obviously, we are at the right time to discuss the issues of integration of the creatives, the film, into tourism promotion. I'm happy that we are not at the point of laboring to convince people that, the creatives, the film has something important to add to tourism promotion. We have passed that stage. We're not laboring to convince anybody anymore. It's now a widely accepted concept that if we are to promote tourism, if we are to attract numbers, if we are to achieve the 10-fold growth strategy, we need to upscale and utilize all the potential that we need or that we have for tourism promotion. So the answer is yes. Number one is that we came with a new tourism policy that was approved by Cabinet last year, December, and I interest you to read the policy. It broadens the aspects of tourism promotion, to broaden the products that we need for tourism promotion. It now goes beyond the national parks, the animals. We are talking about film, we're talking about culture, we're talking about faith-based tourism. These are all products that we need to promote. So I want to give you confidence that in the new tourism policy, we have broadened that. I also want to invite you to look at the National Marketing Plan for Tourism that Uganda Tourism Board developed, and it was launched last year. Take interest and read into that document. You'll appreciate that it is encompassing to now broaden the aspects of tourism promotion in totality. And you're well aware that when we met from January, we had a series of meetings. We came with an MOU. I want to mention here that Minister of Tourism quickly appreciated the bigger role that is played by the filmmaking in terms of destination marketing, the branding, making decisions for tourists to come to Uganda, and we are going to sign a memorandum of understanding. It is ready. It's only that we have not had time to sit together and sign. I'm happy Juliana is here. I think she may give us guidance as to when we can sit and put pen on paper. Now, when you put pen on paper, it articulates clearly what government should do, what UTB will do, what the Minister of Tourism is going to do, what Uganda Wildlife Authority will do. So it is work in progress. When Nana here wants to go to Kidepo National Park, it should be something which is clearly written down that for you to access a protected area, a cultural site, a national park, this is the guideline. These are the steps that you need to follow. It should not depend on my emotion or discretion. You come today, I say yes because I know you, but another person comes because I've never met and we say no. I can give you assurance that government is working on the right path. And if you look detailed in that MOU, we shall be putting action very soon. Thanks.
Thank you. I expected the film practitioners to clap to that. Now that the Ministry of Tourism together with UTB are looking at having an MOU with us to be able to have access to locations, to be able to support us, and we work better. That's good news, right? Ovugaro. Thank you, Dr. Basil. Now back to you, Nana, Vice President PGU. There's always been a challenge, and we find that time and again we get people coming from abroad. They come here, visit government offices, they meet the president, and they say they are the ones that have what it takes to be able to produce films in Uganda and be able to educate us in terms of capacity building, etc., etc. Do you, in your opinion, as the Vice President of PGU, think that we locally have the workforce that can support large international productions? If not, is there a way you would like government or development partners to come in and support this skills development specifically for film tourism?
That's an interesting question. I would say the film creatives that are sitting in this audience have succeeded despite not being enabled, not because of being enabled. And I think people that are sitting in here, I could name names, are skilled enough to actually be able to carry an international production by themselves. But that being said, we don't have a body that actually certifies that that person is at a certain experience level. We don't have facilities that can give you a certificate that verifies that you're capable of being a director of an international film. And until we have some sort of certification that comes along, or a database that actually puts people in tiers according to experience and capabilities, I think we'll continue to struggle. But that being said, government can come in the essence that should an international production come into Uganda, that they have to have skill transference as a clause in whatever contract that they do. If the director is an international director, the first director should be Ugandan. In that, we develop local content so that when they do leave, people that have worked with them are working their way up the ladder to be able to take on these international productions or co-productions. I'm lucky enough to have worked in Hollywood. So I come from a place of exposure and experience. However, I do struggle with some of my counterparts trying to explain why certain things are as they should be. I mean, Hollywood wrote the standard operating procedure for films, and it shall not be challenged, unfortunately, globally. But however, what we can do is learn from them and tell the African story at that level. Because as much as we might say that we can structure our own industry, our counterparts in the West control a lot of things. So we will fall in line, but at the same time, we do require that government, when some of these production companies come in, that certain creatives have a seat at the table while these discussions are being made. We have had many a tale in the creative sector where we just hear about productions happening. Recently at Ministry of Tourism, I didn't know that there was a chimpanzee movie done by an international production company that came here, did it, and put it on Netflix. None of us knew. The credits all went to the international team, and Ugandans didn't really benefit from knowing that our own country had basically hosted an international team. So I find that these are things that actually block us from literally having access and knowledge and, to grow. And government needs to come in. When an international production company comes in, they need to reach out to bodies that actually creatives are in and say, look, this is what is happening. What can you see happening? Do you have people that can sit with these guys and work with these guys? So also there's the incentive of them leaving, rebates, equipment. You see, a lot of us struggle with equipment, and a lot of you are listening, but no one's agreeing. We struggle with equipment, but you get a lot of production companies that come in and leave with their equipment because government doesn't put in place any room for discussion to say, you know what, you've got a red, we allow you to use it, but if you leave behind certain equipment, leave it at UCC so that creatives can actually pay a standardized fee and use this equipment. Post-production is a huge factor that we really need to be candid about. Ugandan films have great stories. Unfortunately, our budgets run out after production. We do not do color grading, we do not do sound design, we do not do graphics, we do not do subtitles, and we just put it out there hoping that someone will see what our vision was. Okay, so government in that essence maybe needs to create, we don't have a home, let me just say that, Ministry of Tourism. Who's in charge of the National Theatre? Why are you looking the other way? Aren't you in charge of National Theatre? But mwagitwala ye mutusasuza okukoleramu nga temutugamba yaffe. So you see, we don't even have a home. Should they be able for government to create a hub at the National Theatre, knowing full well that we can have a space to teach, to do workshops, that you have a space where you can put up a post-production facility, that if I have a film, I can pay a nominal fee and go do my post-production there, that there are computers that are equipped with post-production software, that we are facilitated in that particular sector. I think that would go a long, long way in actually also facilitating co-productions. By co-productions, I don't mean international ones. If I have an idea and I want to work with Matthew, I need a space to sit with him to develop that idea. Unfortunately, as we sit here today, unless it's a bar, a kafunda, or on the street, we do not. Want you, Daphne? We don't. Yes, we don't have a writers' hub. We don't have an actors' hub. We don't have a producers' hub. We don't have a directors' hub. So as we sit here, nabagambye tourism agenda tugenda kuba ku mutwe. That's all and we shall have another conversation, won't we?
Thank you, Nana. From what you've shared, I think one thing really stood out when it comes to certification of people who can work on international productions. Because when we look at what has been displayed back there, you'll find that people from, for instance, the Sound Authors and Engineers Guild have worked on international productions like Queen of Katwe, productions for BBC, etc. And you'll find that there are very many film directors who have been able to work on other international productions, certain writers that have written for international productions, etc. But then the lack of a body that certifies these people. Because if somebody is coming from Hollywood and they would like to work with local authorities, I think there is need for us to have a conversation as the film industry, the Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Tourism, to be able to have these people that have actually been credited on international projects. Let's certify them and have a start. I hope this is something we can agree on. Thank you. Going forward, allow me get back again to Mr. Director Basil. We would like to know if Uganda can create designated film zones or protected production corridors, and which can allow filmmakers to be able to film in national parks, and also if you have any structured filming packages. Because many times we tend to make films and either in a sitting room, dining room, bedroom, village corridor, village path. How do we work together to be able to access some of these other areas that are actually going to showcase our beautiful landscapes, etc., etc.?
Thank you, Matthew. Allow me go back briefly to what Nana raised about certification and probably having a designated home. As we stand off now, I think Minister of Gender is the direct ministry that supervises the creatives, if I'm not wrong. But when you remember when you came to my office, I said, for me, I'm looking at what works out. I'm not going to look for laws, for commission, to create another agency. For me, I'm interested, I'm a tourism person. What do we do within the tourism space? Let's quickly have a framework of us working together. That is why we are rooting for MOU. Not to say that we are bringing you to tourism, but to collaborate and leverage on the strength that you have. For me, that's the immediate area that I looked at. And talking about the certification, or a body that really see that the standards is up to expectation, I again think we can route this through the tourism development program, trying to bring people together. Because government now works on in programs. Under NDP 3, NDP 4, we work in programs. Our program is called the Tourism Development Program. I'm sure, I think you see it in our program, Gender. Yes. Gender is a member of the Tourism Development Program. Minister of ICT is also a member of the Tourism Development Program. So this can be discussed at a program level. For us, we can push as tourism. I'm sure when you go, it's harder for you to push them. But as a ministry, you can say, you know, this is what we want to do, and this is a critical area. So it takes me back to us. In the MOU, we said we shall form a committee which comprises private sector and government. So through that committee, we can push, and we can call meetings and sit with these people and see what we can do. Now, back to the question that you asked me, I think, yes, it is possible to gazette areas for films, for creatives. And it brings me back to our role. What can we do? If you look through the roles of Uganda Tourism Board, I want to interest you to read the marketing strategy, which is development Uganda Tourism Board. They have a role to create contents. They can actually work with the film industry to create tourism-related content, which can be used for promotion. And it is within our mandate to gazette areas, within protected areas in national parks, which allows you to go and shoot films, because Uganda Wildlife Authority is part of the tourism stakeholders. So it's within our mandate to do that. It's also within our mandate to come with guidelines for wildlife film, or guidelines for access. You know, the answer is it is possible. You can access cultural sites, you can access the national parks, you can access different monuments, historical sites. So it is possible to handle those. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Basil. I know our time is running out and we should be wrapping up in a bit, but I would like to hear from the different MDAs just before I jump into the audience. Herman, can I have maybe like 3 questions max? Yeah, 3 questions max. We have, shall we take those 3? Okay, those 4? Herman, I know we are going to be back here next year for Powate. What sort of commitment can we get from the Uganda Tourism Board between now and next year, that when we come here we say, UTB promised to do this with us, and they have done it? Starting with you.
Thank you, Matthew. You're trying to put me on the spot there. But Matthew, we had a very good walkthrough yesterday, and I think we had great conversations with the rest of the team in here. And I think a few of the things we talked about were content creation. I think we're big on that. And one of the things we thought we should do is see how we start getting the tourism narrative into your films. And what we also want to see next year is probably a lot more short content or long content now displayed same time next year, but driving the tourism story. Because in the audience, we have people who are probably not going to see our adverts. They're coming from across the world. We can only afford to have our ads maybe run in a handful of countries. So I can imagine next year us having, very rich stories for us to tell through the film industry. But we have also discussed a couple of things, and I've had Director Basil share here. There's a lot in the works the MOUs has been speaking about. I think for us is to make sure we make real progress on those promises. We spoke about incentives. We spoke about probably co-sharing the funding. Nana called out the fact that, we ran out of gas right after the movie is, shot, no post-production, not even premiering, right? So I think a few of the promises we can make here is we would love to co-create with the Film Guild. We would love to have award-winning content sometime next year here. We would love to walk that journey of distribution because it will be answering all the questions. But most important, I think we would love to have a more joint strategy on film and tourism. I think same time next year we shouldn't be, in the silo mindset, which looks like we are right now. I think we should be one and the same come next year. So destination marketing and film should be in one place.
Thank you. Very well put, Francis. Over to the Ministry of Gender. What commitment, what should we expect? What are you going to tell us today that when we come back next year, we'll be ticking boxes?
Matthew, be careful. Don't put me on the spot so that next year you have a basis to accuse me of poor performance or non-performance. I want to start with an observation. This panel missed UCC, and they are very critical in this conversation. UCC is the principal regulator of the film industry in Uganda. Actually, the law is domiciled in UCC. So I would have loved that they are part of this, and they should be the ones to be put on spot on the part of government to tell us where they want us to be. That's point number one. Now, I want to say this, that first of all, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to engage. We are in the public sector and the private sector, because we are in a marriage. Nobody can claim to have produced a child alone if you're a man or a woman. You need each other. So the private sector is the driver of the industry, and for us, we do the regulation, we provide the environment for you to move forward. So I think this engagement is timely, and I want to pledge the way I promised you yesterday. From here, I'm going to have a series of engagements that are going to help us get a clear vision and strategy on how we can move this industry to the next level. Kaga has said we are there. We are not there. It's a very young, we are starting. When our colleague was saying, he said they started with the quantities until they moved to qualities. For us, even the quantities are not yet there. So we need to work harder so that we can have as many films as possible consumed by our population, and then we try to work on the quality, the financing, the capacity, the infrastructure, so that we can move this industry in a strategic way to the greater heights where we are aiming at. Now, should I pledge? I want to pledge that by come next year, when I come back to Pawate, I will have come up with a clear government strategy on how we are going to grow this industry. Secondly, on those things, the things we have started on, like the issue of financing, I think by that time, we shall be having a more streamlined way on how government is going to invest in this sector. Yesterday, you call Dr. Mvawala mentioned, UDB has got our money, and also government has allocated some resources for the creatives. So we want to see how we are going to establish clear financing streams for, even if they are small, but how we are going to assist, create financing streams for filmmakers in Uganda. It's one of the challenges that we have as the Kaga works on the capacity issues and others that she has mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakaye. Maybe allow me just guide where it comes to quantity. I think we are there. iKON Awards, I think, registers over 300 films every year. Every year. As over 300 films are submitted in iKON Awards. When you go to Western Uganda, WOFPA, they can have over 100 films. Northern Uganda, NUFA, they have over 50 films. Eastern Uganda, I think, is where they will have a bit less, and West Nile. But in terms of quantity, we are there. In terms of quality, we are there, because many of these filmmakers here have won international awards for filmmaking. But we do appreciate your commitment, and we look forward. Obugalo Banange for Minister of Gender. Allow me also move to my brother, our brother from Nigeria. We are Africans, we are together. You've had a lot of information you shared, and we do not want you to just stop at sharing your experiences. We want to see you work with us more. What is your commitment in terms of working with us as Nigeria and Uganda going forward?
Okay, so thank you. As Africans, I think this is the right time for us to move. For me, I just recently got appointed as a board chairman for the African Travel Commission. So it means that I'm going to be thinking beyond the scope of Nigeria through Africa. So, and this conversation happening here is timely. So what I think we need to do more is have a kind of creative exchange. You know, I saw some of our people here on your screen, the likes of Ramsey Noah and all of that. And I know that some of your creatives here have been part of film festivals in Nigeria several times. So it's important for us to collaborate, to do works together. For us in Nigeria, in terms of hub, just to pick on what the Vice President said, there used to be a time where Nigeria was also struggling for locations for our movies. And we moved from there to creating film villages. You know, now we have, you know, some states in Nigeria that have invested in creating film villages within the states. And those film villages have now become, you know, tourist destinations. People want to go there and see. And the private sector too, they have created, you know, many film villages, the CAP, Kunle Afolayan, Ibrahim Chata Film Village, and all of that. So, so when you're looking for a location, in fact, the one that I did a story on before I got appointed was the one on Afri-Chata Film Village in Oyo State, where when you get to the location, the outside looks like a traditional setting where you can shoot a movie in the, you know, olden days. But when you go in, you see, you know, a city setting. So there's mud outside, and when you enter inside, you see a very classic. So you can shoot both city scenes, you can shoot both village scenes within the same setting. So, but all of this has to do with, and that's a private sector. You know, that's an individual that created that with the help of some of his friends. So I think we can do more by looking at where can we situate a film village. If it is anywhere, you know, you have land, you know, Nigeria is like Uganda in terms of the diversity. So get a land, the government can be a part of it, create a film village, start from somewhere. It does not have to be, you know, perfect from the start. You know, when you have that film village, we can co-create something together. We can do a movie that will have some scenes shot at tourist destinations here in Uganda. We can have some other parts shot in Nigeria, and by that you are driving traffic to Nigeria, you are driving traffic to Uganda, you are driving traffic to Africa. So what I can say is the collaboration has started with the faces of our own legends that I see here, and I think we'll need to do more. Let's work together. My agency, the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority, which is the apex and the foremost tourism regulatory agency of the country, saddled with the responsibility of marketing Nigeria, developing and promoting tourist destinations with my sister agency here, that's the Uganda Tourism Board. We can work together and see how we can move this to use filmmaking to push the agenda of tourism in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. Over to you, Nikisi from ITC. What's your commitment? We've seen that in the past, we've seen you work with a couple of film industries, film production houses. How do we expect to see you work more with the institutions going forward? What's your commitment? And what are you planning to do with us as a development partner?
For sure.
Thanks.
So one of the things that we're doing at the end of this year is we're going to be launching a roadmap. A roadmap is it's a tool. How can I explain? So in October this year, or somehow the end of this year, we're going to be launching a roadmap. And this is a tool which allows us to kind of canvass and consult the sector, consolidate ideas, and then share it with anyone within the country who wants to be able to use it. So why is this important? As I mentioned earlier, we're the International Trade Center. So one of the things that the organization feels it has the capacity to offer is expertise in this particular area, and it's a way for us to also do that within the creative industries. And one of the things that's come up again and again and again, but is also being acted on, is coordination. The sectors clearly want to work with each other. They're clearly having conversations. They're actually going well. They're producing results. So what we've been doing for the last couple of months is you, as well as others in the sector, consulting with different people at various levels, private and public sector. We don't just consult once and then say, here's how to solve your problem, take this piece of paper and run with it. We also come back, we validate, we see, we ensure, hey, did you hear about what so-and-so is doing? Are you aware that this thing is happening? Whoever needs to know about something is then informed through this coordination tool. So that's more of like a sector level approach that we're working on that we'll be working towards throughout this year. And then on a very practical, much more like industry level initiative, we'll also be training 30 filmmakers to be able to develop projects over a series of weeks, so actually quite a long period, to be able to have market-ready products to be able to bring to this market platform that we'll be working on with a local partner. So those are the two commitments, the roadmap, the training with the market, and market access.
Thank you, much appreciated. Allow me to skip the Producers Guild, and let's move to the Minister of Tourism.
Okay, when Nana here came with you to my office, you came with a long list, but then I mentioned, I said, when you're entering a relationship, you move slow. When we go out for a date, the first day, you don't ask for a car, you don't ask for everything. After we have known each other, that is when some of the things come. I think that was my advice, because the list was really, really long. So I promise one is to be your voice, like I've been doing within the tourism sector. I'll push to see that we formalize our relationship through a MOU signing, and I think that should be done as soon as we can. Two, we, again, as tourism, it should be able for us to gazette for you places within the protected areas and some tourism sites where you can shoot your films. And three, we shall have a guideline on how you access some of these places for you to shoot these films, because it can also be abused. So we shall have access, but regulated access, meaning we should have guidelines on how you apply and what procedure do you follow to get there, but not something which is extremely stringent. Those are my commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aja. Due to time, I will allow just 2 comments or questions from the audience, and then we'll close this session.
All right.
Aman?
I will walk there. Mr. President, last night I had a dream between the two industries, film and tourism. And Mr. Tourism was saying, show them the beauty of the country. And the film guy said, say what? Say no more. So we shall start with your question. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Mine is not a question, rather a comment and maybe recommendation on the way forward. Lilia Jarova is my name, the Senior Presidential Advisor on Tourism. First, I want to start by thanking the panelists, and I want to agree with my brother from the Commissioner from Gender. UCC needed to have been on that panel. That was a big omission because they're the regulators now, but I'm sure we can still catch up with them and make right whatever, and inform them of the discussion that has happened here. And thank you, Matthew. What amazing questions, and the panelists for the answers. Thank you, our brother from Nigeria. I think those were big lessons that we can learn from Nigeria, and for the audience as well. So my recommendation, having been the CEO of UTB as well in the past, I think we keep going in silos all the time, yeah? Yes, there are some policies in place. Now we are talking of actions that are going to be signing MOUs between the ministry, UTB, you know, we are still moving in silos. And I will use the example of mice, yeah? And I think that's what we need for the film industry as well. When the government decided, and that was through the Ministry of Tourism, that we need meetings, incentives, conferences, events, exhibitions, as an industry to be developed in Uganda. Commissioner, RAPEX aside, it can still happen. It can still happen. For a destination, a country to decide that they want film economy established, just like we decided that we needed Uganda position as a MICE destination, what we did was the ministry set up the policy, handed over the implementation to UTB. We did not have the money, but we chose one office and established it as the unit for MICE. What did that do? It got Uganda to register to the different international associations and memberships. And from that day, Uganda was being recognized as a MICE destination. It opened up the databases for us to be able to have access to the different international conferences that we could actually bid for. So for me, I believe that's what we need to do for the film industry in Uganda as well. Film commission is important. From wherever we are, we need to get there, ladies and gentlemen. That is how we are going to position Uganda as a film destination and improve on the film economy in this country. There's no more time to waste. We need to act. And, we have, I really appreciate the commitments, but I think it just needs to be in one place. Not the Ministry of Gender committing one thing and it's standing alone, tourism committing and it's standing alone. We need it as one strategy for Uganda. As one strategy for Uganda, UCC as the mandated regulator now needs to be with us, tourism, the private sector, and by the way, the private sector, you guys have done amazing. Thank you for all that you have done. And by the way, it's the passion, the individual passions that normally set the ball rolling. You have done your part, but where we have reached, I think the government and all the others, including developmental partners, we can now all come together. The future is bright for Uganda, for film economy. Let's come back next year here and talk of bigger achievements, but most important, that we are going to be pushing for a film commission. I'll be with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's have just one last one, and we need to close the session.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Esther Agwang. By trade, I am a marketing and communications professional. However, when it comes to eating money, I am drawn to the mountains. So here today on behalf of the Mountain Slayers Uganda, we are largest hiking club in the country with over 200 hikers that go to the mountains. So today, I really want to say thank you so much for creating a platform where filmmakers get to engage and interact with mountain climbing. It is one of the areas that the story of Uganda hasn't been explored. And so we would like to take this opportunity to invite filmmakers to the mountains. Amazing, amazing stories and opportunities for us to showcase the beauty and the tourism opportunities of this country. So yesterday, when we hosted the president, something was floated concerning what is unique about Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, what is so unique about the mountains of Uganda is that the landscape of our mountains are globally acclaimed. When you look at the Rwenzoris up on the mountain, the landscape is just beautiful. The Virungas, Mountain Elgon, the largest caldera that we have. Even when you go to the Karamoja Mountains, the views are sweeping. Our challenge is that we do not have content up on the mountain. And that's really because the process of accrediting drones to fly on the mountain is a bit not clear. And so when we have private content creators locally or coming from outside that would like to collect good quality content that can globally compete, there's a bit of a challenge in acquiring those licenses. And so our request is that you would help us, the ministry and all the agencies that are involved, to clear the path and make it easy for content creators to fly drones on the mountains so that we are able to collect very, very, very world-class content that competes on the market and promotes our mountains. That goes without saying. I would like to appreciate the government of Uganda with all the agencies that are responsible for the mountains. We want to thank you for the infrastructure. Last year we received new boardwalks on the Rwenzoris. Thank you so much for cutting the hiking hours. Thank you so much. We got a new camp, Elena Camp. Wow, it's so beautiful to have showers inside an insulated cabin. Wow. When we take hikers there and they see the difference between the old Elena and the new Elena, the contrast is so it's so huge, and people appreciate that. Thank you also for security. When we take hikers to Karamoja and you're getting into the real wilderness, between the corridor between Kenya and Uganda, the Tukanas, there's a new trail that has been created, and it can only be possible because of security. So thank you so much for that. Finally,
thank you. I'm sorry,
I'd like to invite
us
tomorrow. We have created a heritage trail for the people that are attending the Expo. And so we are inviting you to hike with us tomorrow here in the city, just 10 kilometers, a simple hike. You're welcome to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I want to thank all our panelists for being here today. We want to thank you for allowing to engage with us as a film industry. And we know that Uganda does not lack beauty. It does not lack stories or talent. I think what has been a challenge was alignment and intentionality. If we do that, we will make this country a place that no one can ignore. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
All right, thank you so much. Let's applaud our panelists again. And now I will take this. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to UTB.
Okay, before we hand over to me for the next panel, let's have a picture moment, and I will request our finance manager to hand over the packages to the panelists. Kindly stay up. She's here.
So So the protocol is she hands over, you shake hands, and some music, please, for accountability purposes. Yes. Some music, slow music. All right. I think we have our productions guy.
This is the most and the best blessing I ever get from the spiritual of the Nile. And thank you, Uganda.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.